welcome back to GTD. Week 3 of college football is over. We also got to see a great NASCAR race at Watkins Glen this weekend, a great F1 race at Azerbaijan. It was a great week of sports all around. And Keegan, I know you were up in the press box for the Auburn game, so I don't know how much of the Saturday slate you got to watch, but how did you enjoy what you did see?
Right. So I was in the press box covering the Auburn game. At first I was like, well, I don't know how I'm going to, I was kind of not super looking forward to covering it just because of the situation. And then Thursday we get the news that Peyton Thorne is not the starting quarterback moving forwards. And then everybody who was covering the game immediately went to, oh, well, here's our angle. Here's what we need to look at. And Hank Brown, definitely you can tell it was his first game at quarterback. Had some rookie errors, but he'll be fine. He looked decent enough.
Hank the Tank.
Hank the Tank, that's right. But I did get to watch because the best game of the weekend was at noon, the LSU South Carolina game. I did get to watch that, and y'all know I was super passionate and adamant about South Carolina beating LSU, and I really thought it was going to happen, and I thought Brian Kelley was going to be gone, or I still think he's going to be gone. And that almost happened. South Carolina shot themselves in the foot so many times. It was still in a close ball game with LSU. That should tell y'all that Brian Kelley is going to be gone. Y'all may have been doubting me, but now the media is starting to kind of follow my lead and say he's going to be gone. But yeah, just what were your thoughts on the LSU-South Carolina matchup?
Well, my main thought is this South Carolina defensive front is legit. You pretty much embarrassed 2 NFL quality tackles on this LSU offensive line. Dylan Stewart is amazing off the edge for South Carolina, and the speed on this defense, even including the linebackers, they were flying all over the field. And even though this LSU team isn't necessarily amazing, they do have good speed on the outside. They're a solid team, and so for South Carolina to be able to keep up athletically, I was really impressed with it. I think this is a very solid defensive line for sure, and I think this team could surprise some people as they go through the year.
They had 2 pick sixes called back for penalties. 2. It was like I was watching the Dallas Cowboys with all the penalty flags flying everywhere. And then again at the Auburn game, they were getting close to I think we looked it up in the press box as we were curious. I think 30 is 2018 is the most recent time they had 30 flags. And we were at 27, 28. The
refs had more flags thrown than either QB had passing attempts.
Right. And I want to put this out there for y'all just because I shot this in press box last night. Do y'all think the refs should have a limited number of flags per team? Each ref has, let's say, 6 flags to throw per team. And then once they use those 6, they're kind of done. Now, you can argue when they use the 6, teams are just going to do whatever. But
I don't think that works.
I don't think so either. Obviously you have personal fouls that need to be called.
Yeah.
But things like holding.
Maybe you could. I don't know. I don't think there's a way that would work.
I don't think so either. But
no.
I just.
But when the refs are adding an hour to the time I'm sitting in the rain, get it together. Especially the long discussions. If you throw a flag and it's a flag, fine. Get up there, say what the penalty is, move on. Don't have a 10-minute discussion for every flag.
That's how I felt in the USC LSU game. I was like, oh, they're throwing flags to make the game more exciting or whatever, but. Who knows? We don't need to get down.
Well, that's what the excitement is. It's the refs.
We don't need to get down to the Illuminati rabbit hole of the refs control and everything's fixed. Because people do that enough.
Also, speaking of South Carolina fans, you did not lose because of the refs. You lost because you shot yourselves in the foot a bunch.
Yes, you played. You had some very poor decisions and very poor plays that cost you the game, and it showed in a close matchup. But moving on to the Kansas State-Arizona game, I took the fun pick with Arizona, and KSU embarrassed them.
Yeah. So. This was an Arizona team I picked to win the Big 12 at the start of the year, and after the first 2 games, struggling with New Mexico a lot of the first half, struggling to beat Northern Arizona, I was like, this is not the team I thought it was. I've lost complete faith in them, and then Kansas State showed why. Arizona was pretty much unable to move the football. They could never finish a drive, and the defense is also bad. And that's just not a recipe for success, especially against a team with as much talent as Kansas State. Avery Johnson's a real difference maker at quarterback for the Kansas State Wildcats. I almost said Wildcats, whereas I wouldn't have really explained it much for this game. But I like Avery Johnson a lot. Then the running back duo Kansas State has is great as well. I like this offense. I think
their running game is on.
Yeah, I think Kansas State is my new favorite to win the Big 12 as of right now.
You think so?
Yeah.
Over Utah and OK State.
I think it's close with Utah. I don't have a lot of faith in Oklahoma State.
I'm neither anymore. And that was a team I chose to win the Big 12 at the beginning. I told y'all last week I'd get more into Utah this week, and we will later. And then another close call, Georgia, Kentucky. It looked for a while Kentucky had that game,
Listen,
and then
why
Georgia escaped.
The decision to punt the ball from midfield
with
on 4th and 1.
12 seconds left?
Yeah. What are you doing? Do you not want to beat the number 1 team in the country? This is
you're
why
playing on house money there.
This is why Mark Stoops has barely ever won any games versus teams that finish the season with a winning record at Kentucky. You have to have some aggression, and you're in a game like that. You're in an absolute dogfight with Georgia, no pun intended, actually, for once, and you're at midfield. You have a chance to really keep your drive going, and with the way the Kentucky offense works, you can run out the clock from that point.
Yep.
Your kicker had been straight nails all night. He'd been incredible, and you're just like, no, we'll give him the ball back. And then Georgia ended the game. Like, what are you doing? I don't get it at all.
No, I'm with you. I mean, you have to be aggressive there. Like I said, you're playing on house money. Like you came into the game, and everyone in the world expected you to lose, and you were there. So you have to do something. You have to rise to that occasion. You can't just go, well, we played better than we should have. We weren't supposed to be here. We're supposed to be losing by more. So we'll take this tough loss and put it on our shoulder and move on to next week. Like, no, you don't move on to next week.
If those
You conquer the
coaches-
week you have.
If those coaches are reversed, tell me there's any chance Kirby Smart's punting.
No coach is punting.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, you just don't see that anymore. Bill Belichick doesn't punt there.
It's not playing to win, it's playing not to lose. And there's
Right.
no easier way to lose than playing not to lose. It's every time. Every time.
I don't know. And then, obviously, Florida State. Exactly. 0-3. They have.
Man, it's
if
almost
you-
like someone said Florida State would be really bad at the start of the year. I wonder who that could have been.
And if you bet the under on wins, which is 9.5, you just cashed out. So congratulations to all you guys out there.
Yes.
Yeah, they lost to Memphis, who could be the Power 5 team in the playoffs. I don't think so.
Or group of five.
Oh, your group of 5. Yep, whatever. Non-Power 5 teams, I meant to say.
Yeah.
I prefer Boise. I think
Aston Genty's a beast.
he's awesome. His Heisman kind of odds
Yeah.
are climbing.
You
every
picked the
week.
wrong running back
Every
for the
week.
Heisman.
I know.
Yeah. But Florida State, awful. How about the Mike Norvell revenge game falling flat versus Memphis? Memphis coming in and taking it to Florida State. Florida State looked completely terrible. And as a Florida fan whose team is also horrific, this is my only saving grace in the year is that Florida State is somehow worse.
So Florida State has only started 0-3 after the first three times.
And one was in 2021, also under Mike
I was
Norvell.
about to say, 2 of those times, Mike Norvell's been the head coach. Is it time to start talking about him being on the hot seat?
I think he gets kind of a free pass this year. I think people are going to blame the year on DJ rather than him. And I think they're going to say they got fooled by DJ in the portal. However, if you come back next year and you can improve, if you finish like 6-6 next year, I think that's when the seat starts to get really hot for Norvell.
Dude, I think the seat may get. I mean, FSU fans are ruthless. The seat may get. I'm with you. I don't think they need to.
If it took
pull-
him 3 years to fire Willie Taggart, they don't fire Mike Norvell. This
Yeah,
year.
I don't think they need to just jerk it and pull him or whatever, and fire him immediately. But I do think there's reach some discussions and see how he handles the transfer portal next offseason. And then I think he'll start next season kind of under a close eye. But yeah, that's all we got for what just happened in week 3 of college football and all the craziness. We're gonna move on to NFL. We had some. We'll just start with Tua.
Yeah.
Do you think he needs to retire?
Yes.
Okay.
If you want to take
before
care,
we talk about this, if you don't know, Tua got another concussion.
went
Collided with
unconscious
DeMar
again.
Hamlin. I mean, the concussions are an issue for him. He's meeting with the neurosurgeon tomorrow, I believe, is what ESPN has let me know. So I agree. I think he needs to retire. The head injuries are something different. I mean, it's not like your elbow or ankle or knee. Head injuries are completely different, and especially at the rate he's getting them now in the NFL and how severe some of them have been. And we don't know how severe this one was, but just the one he got 2 years ago in that Sunday and Thursday night game, back to back like that was tough to watch, especially as an Alabama fan and a guy who loves Tua.
Yeah.
I think he needs to put himself in front of the game.
Yeah, there's no way you can continue to play like that. And if I'm the Miami Dolphins or Tua's doctor, whoever controls the decision, I'm forcing him to medically retire, so at least he sees that contract money. I think that's only fair to him. I think that's kind of the perfect situation is you say, Tua, you're done. It's not safe for you to play anymore, because even with he changed his helmet this year, he's trying to do all these different things to keep his head protected, and for whatever reason, it's not working out for him. The head injuries keep happening, and like you said, at some point you have to put yourself before your football career.
And I don't think anybody's going to look at him and boo him if he gets
No,
on the stage
definitely
and
not.
announces his retirement.
And if you do that, you're a horrible person.
Yeah,
by the way.
exactly. So, I mean, he's got – no one's going to – I know he's going to feel like he's letting the people down, especially the Dolphins fans. But he's not letting anybody down. I mean, I feel like all the Dolphins fans would kind of rally to that cause and really help him out. And he can do some good things about it. He can take some of his money and build like a Tua Tagovailoa Foundation where it's all about research and concussions and all this. And so there's some good things he can do, and he can stay around the sport, obviously. If he wants to coach or if he doesn't want to stay on the sport, that's understandable too.
Or can he just retire to Hawaii and just chill?
Exactly. Chill with his family. So yeah, I don't think there's any hate if Tua retires or shouldn't be. But I guess we'll find out this week, supposedly, maybe. And then the Saints offense we have to touch on because
what is going on?
Wow, they have scored on almost every drive. And
they've scored on actually every drive that Derek Carr has been the quarterback.
Which is insane, because Derek Carr was getting a lot.
Derek Carr was getting flamed.
A lot of hate going into the season. They have a new offensive coordinator. He seems to be doing great. He's from the Shanahan tree, so...
Yeah. What this is telling me is that Pete Carmichael should never get another NFL job ever again, because he was their offensive coordinator last season, and this offense looked just incapable of doing anything at all. And now this year, it's kind of high-flying. Rashid Shaheed is really taking off this year.
The platoon of
he is
Olave
fun.
And Shaheed,
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Especially today, going against the Cowboys defense is not a mid-tier defense. They are an elite defense.
I think this exposed the weakness of the Cowboys defense and is a lack of speed at the corner position. They are very solid. They have tremendous edge rushers, good solid linebackers, very adept at kind of sitting in zone and reading the QB's eyes. But if you test them deep over and over and over, the corners and the back-end safeties simply do not have the speed to hang with that all game. And I think the Saints exposed that today.
No, I mean, I agree. I think so too. I mean, 41-19 was the final score, I believe. I mean, tough day for the Cowboys. And I want to talk, let's get into this, because we didn't talk about this last week, and I feel like we should have. Dak Prescott being the highest paid NFL player in history now.
We need a QB salary cap. It's ridiculous at this point.
I don't know if we need a QB salary cap.
We do.
I think we need Jerry Jones to get a pair of glasses.
Well, Jerry Jones is always going to pay his stars. I think this was always going to happen. But for a QB, like, at some point, I get wanting to take your guaranteed money, but at what point does it become outrageously selfish to be taking these contracts on the part of these QBs and these agents to where your team is going to be crippled by your contract? Because how can you say you want to win as a quarterback and then take up 30-40% of your team's salary cap? Those two things don't go together. So I think you need a QB salary cap, and by that I mean there's a cap on a percentage of your team's salary cap that can go towards the quarterback position.
I mean, I would love to see that implemented, but I was trying to get more so, like, do you think Dak deserved that contract?
Oh, no, definitely not.
And his play so far this season after getting that contract, and obviously, like we said, I mean, even Jerry Jones said when he signed him that contract, he's like, well, I've always kind of paid my players like this and my stars, and they typically rise to the occasion. He mentioned Troy Aikman and some other guys, but...
Don't get me wrong, Dak's good, but Dak isn't the best player in the NFL, which is what this contract says he is. Like, if we were ranking contracts by how the players are, Patrick Mahomes would always have the biggest contract in the NFL. That's the way, but this is going to happen with the way the NFL salary cap works. So, do I think he deserves to be the highest paid player in the NFL? No. Do I think it's a good idea to give him this contract? In a weird way, yes. Because if not, it's just going to get more expensive. Think of what the Texans are going to have to pay C.J. Stroud now after this. It's going to get more and more and more expensive. It's just never going to stop.
Is Dak a top 5 quarterback for you?
No.
Is he a top 10 quarterback?
Yes.
Where is he in the top 10? Is he?
I would say he's in that 7 to 9 range for me.
Okay.
I think he's a good quarterback. My top 5 is some order of Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, Herbert, and Burrow is my top 5.
So Lamar gets a lot of hate for not winning the big game. What big game has Dak Prescott won?
He hasn't.
Exactly. And he's been there since 2017, 18?
Yeah. But also I would argue by Dallas Cowboys standards, he hasn't always had the most talented team with him. And when he's actually had a good defense, he's played well. Like, I think this probably comes from me being a Chargers fan and watching Justin Herbert be elite and not be able to win games because the rest of the team is bad. But I feel like you can't always blame a QB for not being able to win the big game, especially when a defense doesn't show up or when you have no running game. It's the winning the big game narrative is on a QB in some aspects of where maybe they can't lead a game-winning drive. But also, the rest of your team has to play well for you to win the big game as well.
Yeah, you could argue the running game. I'm going to play the other guy. I don't think Dak Prescott is anywhere close to the top quarterbacks in the league.
So who are the 10 quarterbacks better than Dak Prescott?
No, he's probably top 10. He's probably 8 or 9, but I don't think he's anywhere close to the guys in the top 5.
I would agree. I would say he's not close to a Justin Herbert, to a Patrick Mahomes, to a Lamar Jackson, but he's still good. And for a good NFL quarterback, this is what it costs.
I don't think he's good enough to get the job done. The main job of winning a Super Bowl, I don't think he has it. He's constantly underthrowing receivers. He's making wrong reads. He's thrown a lot of picks in his career. And, I mean, I know they lost by a giant number today, and their defense kind of didn't stop the Saints offense. But at some point, when you get the ball back after the other team scores, guess what you have to do? March to the end zone and score. Not march to the 30 and kick a field goal every time. You have to put the ball in the end zone.
So here's a question. If you stick Jalen Hurts in Dak Prescott's situation, do you think he does any better? Because I think no. You look at what Jalen Hurts has been since Shane Steichen left to go be the Indianapolis Colts head coach.
And
the discourse around those two players is so different.
I think Dak Prescott has better arm talent than Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts adds more to your offensive depth just with his legs that you have to plan more. But I think Dak Prescott's got the arm talent over Jalen Hurts, but you don't have to plan for Dak Prescott to get mobile and run out of the pocket.
He can do it though.
He can, but time and time again we see him.
But how much of that is a function of the way the Cowboys' offense is run?
I think it's very much a function of that, but also his injury history.
Yeah.
Which I will say has played Dak Prescott's career. If he never gets injured, who knows what he does? But you can say that about 99% of the guys in the NFL. So we don't even need to talk about that.
I think Dak is in a weird situation of, I think if he played for any team other than the Cowboys, one, he doesn't get that contract, but also two, no one's constantly ripping him for not being incredible. I think everyone is very satisfied with the quality of Dak Prescott as a quarterback if he doesn't get this contract and he doesn't play for the Cowboys. But because he plays for the Cowboys, he is going to get that contract, and I don't think that's necessarily Dak's fault. That's a Jerry Jones and Dak's agent thing.
Oh, 100. This contract definitely adds to the scrutiny and criticism he's going to get throughout the rest of his career at this point. The media is so divided on this guy. Half of them think he's one of the greatest quarterbacks in the league, and half of them think he's the worst quarterback in the league. And he's obviously closer to one of the better quarterbacks in the league. But if you're Jerry Jones, and you're gonna sign a guy long term with the goal of winning Super Bowls, go find another quarterback. Wait to draft somebody, or wait for free agency.
Who are you drafting right now that's becoming Dak Prescott? Because the draft it's so easy to go draft somebody. The draft is so difficult. You look at what was touted as the best quarterback class we've ever seen. The Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones year. How many of those guys are even starting right now? You can't just say go draft a guy, and then how often is a good quarterback even making it to free agency now? So if you have a guy that is back half of the top 10 in Dak, you just need to secure him. Because you can't just say, we'll draft a new guy.
But you can't secure him for so much money that you can't help him out. Because he needs all the help he can get.
I completely agree with that. But I'm saying don't hold it against Dak. The fact that Jerry Jones wants to pay people that much.
That's fair. Let's move on. Another kind of guy who's coming on, another rookie, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Did someone say Maserati Marv?
Him and Kyler Murray seem to have a lot of talks in the offseason because they are in unit.
Well, I think they had a lot of conversations after week one. Because week one, Kyler Murray did not locate Marvin Harrison Jr. on the field at all. And this week in the first quarter, he had 120 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Right.
And this is the peak of the Cardinals offense. Kyler Murray running around, creating, finding receivers downfield. I think people forget how good Kyler Murray's deep ball is because he's short and because he's injured a lot. But he has a great deep ball. He's always had a great deep ball. And you add in a receiver like Marvin Harrison Jr. to this offense. Trey McBride's a great tight end. I love Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson was one of my huge draft crushes coming out of Stanford. I think he's going to be an amazing receiver too. I really like this Arizona Cardinals offense a lot, and they put a whipping on the Rams today, 41-10. I was very impressed.
Now, so we talked about kind of like a highlight. Let's talk about something that's worrying some people. Are you worried about the Baltimore Ravens?
It's hard to say with the Ravens because I feel like sometimes they will start slow. Like we saw it last year after, let's say, week 4, week 5, everyone's like, something's wrong with the Ravens, something's wrong with the Ravens. And they went to the best record in the NFL, and then they made it to the AFC Championship and lost. So I would say if they start 0-4, then I'm sounding alarm bells. But as of right now, give them some time to get back together. I still think the sky's not falling yet, but you need to start figuring things out a little bit.
I agree. This is kind of par for the course of the Ravens. They have weeks in strength where they kind of play like this, and they have some new pieces. They're Derrick Henry this year. They're probably trying to figure some things out.
Actually, after looking at their schedule, I'm now worried about the Ravens. Their next 3 games are at the Cowboys, home versus the Bills, and at the Bengals. And so if you start 0-2 going into that, that's pretty brutal. The good news is they get a lighter stretch after that, but you need to win at least 2 of those 3, I think.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And I think 2 of those are winnable.
I would say Cowboys is definitely winnable after how they've looked so far, and then the Ravens and Bengals is always weird. AFC North matchups are always weird, and then Lamar versus Josh Allen will be absolute cinema. I can't wait to watch that game.
That will be fun because Josh Allen is a better version of Lamar. I'm going to we're not getting into that.
Let's not even do that.
Another team that people should be worried about is, shocking, the Giants.
No, the Giants aren't good. I'm shocked.
The Giants lost 18-21.
Yeah, and you'll think, 18-21, they allowed 3 touchdowns. Nope, they allowed 7 field goals and lost. They scored 3 touchdowns. Daniel Jones actually threw for 2 touchdowns, so he now has more touchdowns to his team than the other team again since signing his max contract. But also, they scored 3 touchdowns and lost to a team that didn't score a touchdown. That's just
hilarious.
This is the most New York Giants stat I've ever seen. Shout out to Austin Seibert or Austin Seibert, however you say his name. Sorry if you're not saying your name correctly, Austin. But 7 for 7 on field goals, long of 45, and he is the most valuable player of the week. Congratulations.
So that time. Also, you reminded me, because we were talking about the Giants, and Eli Manning popped in my head. Arch Manning plays for Texas. So Quinn Ewers went down, abdomen strain. They're saying he's probably going to miss week 2. Hopefully he's back for week 3 and he recovers and everything.
He's going to miss week 3. Hopefully he's back for week 4.
Right.
They play ULM. They'll be fine.
But Arch Manning looks good.
He ran for a 67-yard touchdown, and Manning and 67-yard rushing touchdown have never been said together ever.
Scored 2 touchdowns in 3 plays.
Yeah.
Looked good. This
versus UTSA.
Right. Quinn Ewers goes down. Texas fans are like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. 10 seconds later, they're like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Yes, exactly.
So I am very excited to see this kid play.
He's going to be so good.
I mean, I'm not saying he's going to beat out Quinn Ewers this year. Quinn Ewers
no, he's not. But you're never benching Quinn Ewers. I don't care if Arch Manning throws for 7,000 yards in a game. You're not benching Quinn Ewers.
But the hype for next year and coming into the next season is going to be so fun.
Football's so fun when Texas is good.
I hate to say it, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, football's so fun when Texas is good.
Because you get to cheer Matthew McConaughey all the time.
Yes. Texas,
Texas,
USC, the California version, Nebraska. These are all teams that when they're better, football is better.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. And Alabama when they're good.
Yeah, because Alabama.
Not extremely good.
All the known off years of the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Hey, they happened before. There was some dark times before Nick Saban. I don't know if you've heard of Nick Saban, but before him, there's some dark times.
Yeah, I've been a Florida fan and now an Auburn fan for a little over a year. You have no understanding of
chills. So let's move on to some motorsports because it was a great week in motorsports.
Yes.
We had not one but 2 road courses or road races. Well, Watkins was on a road. But it's a road course as far as NASCAR is concerned. What is so fun?
Nothing.
It's not a street course like Azerbaijan, but it's a road course. It was Watkins Glen, if you're curious and didn't watch and you want to recap. Buescher won on the last lap. Incredible racing between SVG and Buescher. So Buescher has the lead coming to the green flag for the overtime.
Because shocker, there was an overtime restart. We'll get on that later.
Well, this one was okay. Yeah. So Buescher has the lead going into turn 1. SVG kind of roughs him up in the back, pushes him around, then gets the lead, right? Going into turn 2. Then they do a whole lap, and they're just chasing. Buescher is now just chasing SVG. They've broken away from everybody behind them. They are using the whole track. Buescher trying to get all he can get, but he does decide the rear end, which I found very impressive.
Yeah.
He's trying everything he can, not once. I'm sure maybe if the move had come later in lap 2, he probably would have slid the rear end just to try to do something, but he does decide the rear end, which is very impressive. He stays calm and composed. He keeps driving his line. He wasn't driving SVG's line. He was driving the line he drove the entire time. He wasn't doing anything different. He was running his race, waiting and waiting. Well, coming into a chicane, SVG gets into the wall a little bit, which was not there last year. This is new addition this year. The wall's new. Gets into the wall just like, I'm talking like
a hair.
Just skims it. And all that did was cause his rear end to get squirrely. And he gets a little loose in the middle of the chicane, and that's all Busher needed. So Busher now can get to the inside of SVG and kind of roughs him up. Not too much, but like I think that's the perfect example of Hartman's racing.
Yeah.
Just the perfect like whoop, and then now they're racing. Busher's got the momentum, passes him, and only has half lap at this point. The rest is history. SVG trying, like we said.
Yeah, driving the wheels off that thing too. I'm shocked he didn't wreck in those last two corners.
But he obviously trying everything he can after that. He did get loose and get squirrely, and he almost went around. He saved it and ended up finishing second. But just great road course racing between Busher, who now has the most top 10s in next gen history
on road courses.
He beat out Ty Reddick today.
Yep.
Which I when you told me that, I was kind of like, oh wow.
They were tied coming into the day, and since Reddick's car was awful and he got wrecked about 18,000 times, he was not up there whatsoever. But you mentioned perfect example of Rubbins racing, and SVG mentioned, he said, I gave him a little shot going into turn 1 off the restart, so I figured he would try to get back at me, but it was clean. It was clean rubbing on both sides, and for once I really agreed with Steve Letarte. He was like, this is the perfect example of what NASCAR racing can be. He's talking about just enough rubbing to where you get each guy a little bit out of shape, but we're not Austin Dillaning anyone. So it was very entertaining racing.
Now, who would disagree with you is Martin Truex Jr., who was visibly, not and verbally, not happy with...
To be fair, Martin Truex Jr. got obliterated and bulldozed.
Right, but I feel like he was even talking about the ending between SVG and Busher.
I don't think he was. He was very much talking about himself back in the pack because, first off, Martin Truex Jr. had multiple restarts near Corey LaJoie, and I think we know what it's like restarting near Corey LaJoie. So I think he's sick of that. He's ready to retire. He's sick of being just run off the road. Because name a guy in the last 2 years that's been running well before getting run off the road more than Martin Truex Jr. that isn't Larson or Hamlin with each other.
Busher? Can you argue Busher just because of the season he's had?
Maybe, but I feel like Truex has just had horrific luck, and he's ready to be done. He mentioned he's ready to be out of here, which is a bit of a tough look when you're still in the playoffs, but I think he might be done. I don't think he has much hope for Bristol.
He's so happy to just go fishing hunt for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell. It's kind of sad because I love Martin Truex, but you can kind of feel like he's just ready to kind of, I'm ready. But before we move on any further, we have to rate the burnout. I give it a 2. It was kind of like a little like,
I'm giving it a 3. Part of it's that Watkins Glen doesn't have a lot of space unless you want to drive down to turn 1, but Chris Buescher won.
You just make a lap and every other car's gone, so yeah.
Chris Buescher got his sticker. That was the big contention point after.
Hurts. It's like
yeah,
it hurts
does.
because he won a playoff race and he should have been in the playoffs and they should have moved him on to advance to the next round.
He was so happy
he still has Bristol in this round that he likes to run well at.
Aren't you so happy you have Harrison Burton 22 points out though?
I'm so happy. I will say. We'll get into this later. But there are a few guys who are surprising us in the playoffs right now.
Yes.
Like we said, we'll get into that.
And honestly, Harrison Burton, there's a world where he's still in this going to Bristol. Not right now, but if that tire wouldn't have exploded, I think he was still in a decent position. So I still, he's not as much of an auto out as it looks like.
Yeah, and then if you watch the race, Blaney went down first lap super early.
Which I don't even know what happened to that car. It got boinked by Kozlowski and just gave up.
Yeah, it was weird. However, he couldn't drive back to his pit box because of flat tires. So NASCAR decided to tow him, which they can tow you back to the pit road under the damaged vehicle policy if you have flat tires and can't make it back to pit road. But they towed him to the garage. They didn't even let them work on the car. Like, straight to the garage. And Blaney's in his interview, that's what he was kind of angry about. And he even said, like, probably a day-ending, wreck or whatever. And it was. But he was just like, the fact that NASCAR didn't even allow us to look at it or do anything is just, like, blatantly, like, disrespectful. And he wants to see a change. And even the announcers start talking about, like, the murky area of they should probably be more specific with this. And there needs to be a change the rule book to where it's super discreet, super concrete. Like this, if this happens, you go to the garage. This happens, we can take you out of the pit box.
I think this is actually a rare occasion where I would like some F1 in NASCAR, where in F1 is very clear. If such and such part breaks, it has to be replaced, and then you can go back out. And if such and such part doesn't break, you can do whatever you want and keep going. And I think NASCAR would benefit from something like that. I remember the DVP was very controversial when it was first introduced. The essence of NASCAR, I feel like, is not a sport that has a damaged vehicle policy. And also, can we talk about how the fact that of all teams this happens to, it's Ryan Blaney, who that team is notoriously good at making just buckets of bolts finish top 10. You look at Atlanta last week, the Bristol...
Everybody did it. They were like, we don't need Blaney to...
You look at the Bristol dirt race where it was missing half the back end of the car and finished top 5. Like, if any team would have made that car somehow come back.
Charlotte Roval years ago?
Yeah. So, I do think it's kind of funny this happens to Blaney of all drivers, but... I don't love the DVP, and like you said, either make it black and white super clear or eliminate it completely.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not saying that eliminate it completely.
Why? Who doesn't want a car going 3 miles an hour out there? That's why I said black and white.
I know you're confused right now because this is coming from the NASCAR guy and the guy who is publicly is not a huge fan of the FIA. Bring on the FIA to NASCAR. Hashtag. Actually, don't. Please don't quote me on that. That was.
Get ready for 18 overtimes!
No, if the FIA was in control of NASCAR, they would just end their caution every time. We saw it today, folks. Yeah, I mean, I think the energy vehicle policy does have a place in the sport, and it does have some good advantages, and does affect the racing a little bit in a positive aspect, in my opinion. Maybe more time or not as strict, but if you can't run it, you don't need it. Points or not, you don't need to run the car if you're gonna. If the car is bad enough to turn you into Corey LaJoy, you do not need to be on the racetrack.
Welcome to the Corey LaJoy test.
All you have to do, this new DVP, if you can go outrun Corey LaJoy, you're safe. If not, you gotta go to the garage.
No, I feel like you'd have to put either Corey LaJoy in a Rick Ware car or have Cody Ware run every week. And if you can outrun that guy, you get to stay on the track.
Yeah. And you want to talk about Connor Zilisch?
I do. Let's talk about Connor Zilisch. I was very excited to talk about Connor Zilisch. First off, does the ARCA race this weekend, murders the field. He was out by 11 seconds, just kept on going, completely invincible. Then you stick him in a junior motorsports car for the Xfinity race, and you go, well, it's Xfinity. It's a huge step up from ARCA. Let's see how he does. And honestly, I was just hoping he finished top 15 and doesn't wreck. And he outran the field again. He dusted everyone. SVG was even in that race. Just completely classed the field. Had a 4.5-second lead in no time. And I don't know if you heard the conversation between his crew chief and the spotter, TJ Majors, but Majors was up there talking about he has a 4.5-second lead. He hasn't even slid out of a corner. I've never seen this before. And this is just a special talent. And I know Trackhouse is expanding to 3 cars, and we talked about, Daniel Suarez may be saving his ride this season. Daniel Suarez better keep driving like he has this year or better, else in a couple years it's going to be Chastain, SVG, and Zilisch, because Trackhouse is not risking losing this guy to Hendrick.
Yeah, and
he is incredible.
With all the Bowman talks right now, I mean, they may sign Bowman for next year and then kind of be like, all right, this is your farewell tour.
Bowman's been running really well, though. I don't think it would be fair to Bowman to, especially seeing as a Trackhouse driver. But also, this guy wins in everything. It's not just ARCA. It's not just stock cars. He won his class at the 24 Hours of Daytona in February. And at that point, he was only 16. This dude's a freak. He needs a better ride. I want him in Xfinity full time so badly.
I think he gets there.
I need him in a better ride than ARCA. So we don't need to just see him beat up on Sawalish every weekend. He's incredible. Get him up in a better series.
I agree 100%.
Anyway, it's been your weekly Connor Zilisch propaganda segment.
And now let's talk about the playoff implications of Watkins Glen, because they said 100 times on the broadcast, it's a very expensive day for those playoff drivers. And it was. I think the most notable guy you get to talk about is Denny Hamlin, who got wrapped up in a wreck on week 1. And
this is so funny.
And he's 6 points in the red. He's 6 points out. He's 13th right now. So he's the first car out by 6 points. Ty Gibbs is the first car in. And then behind him, we got Brad Keselowski, minus 12. Martin Truex Jr., minus 14. Harrison Burton, minus 20. And then above, you have Chase Briscoe, plus 6, William Byron, plus 25, Kyle Larson, plus 26, and then Blaney on up are 29 or 30 plus. Who are you worried about above the cut line going into Bristol?
William Byron. You look at William Byron's last 4 Bristol finishes: 18th, 23rd, 16th, 21st. And Denny Hamlin, really good at Bristol. Brad Keselowski is solid at Bristol. Ty Gibbs was great at Bristol in the spring. Chase Briscoe is great at short tracks, great at Bristol. I'm very concerned about William Byron. If they pull out one of their short track duds and that car is 25th and you go a lap down early and Chase Briscoe, Ty Gibbs are up at the front to start the race, you figure Denny Hamlin will be up there. This gets very dangerous for William Byron very quickly.
Okay, I agree. Out of Kyle Larson down that are in the green, I'm probably the most worried about William Byron, only because Ty Gibbs. I think this. If you look at the finishing one for Bristol early in the year, it doesn't look good for Ty Gibbs, but he ran very well.
Yes, he had one of the best cars and drove incredibly well until his tires. Yeah,
he showed his youngness and his non-experience when the tires started falling off. I don't think that happens. The tires are not going to act like they were in the spring. I hope they do, but I just don't think they will. I think that was a freak incident. It will never happen again until we have a different tire, which we can talk about in a little bit. But
excuse me. I was reading the William Byron Bristol finish chart from the wrong end. He's finished 35th, 9th, and then 3rd twice. But if I remember correctly, one of those he inherited that place because of a late wreck that took out half the top 10. So
yeah.
So still not great average finish wise.
However, he's plus 25. Now are some drivers. So you have, like we said, Hamlin, Keselowski, Truex Jr., and Burton are out. Hamlin. Do you think Hamlin moves on? Yes or no?
Yes, barely.
I agree. Very good at Bristol. Now, Keselowski, Truex, Burton. Do any of those guys move on to the next round?
Keselowski makes it. Truex and Burton don't. I don't know who Keselowski moves up at the expense of, but I just don't see a way where he doesn't make it.
So you have 2 guys. You have Hamlin and Keselowski moving on. Who do you not have moving on? Does Byron have? So he's plus 25. So does he race so poorly that he loses out?
I don't know who the second one would be. I don't know who Brad is.
Are you expecting the winner out of Hamlin or Keselowski?
No.
Okay, so
I'm just expecting this. I think there's no way that both of those guys miss. I don't know who goes out. I could see it being honestly any of Byron, Briscoe, or Gibbs, or even we've seen Tyler Reddick and Chase Elliott get into trouble at Bristol early before. And if that happens to either of those guys, we discussed before, 30 points isn't safe. If you get trapped a lap down at Bristol,
30 points is okay if you have a top 15 day and everything goes to plan. If you have pit road, especially Bristol, if you have a pit road penalty or something screws your day up, you are fighting for passes. So
I don't know. I think Hamlin makes it in pretty comfortably just because of how good he is at Bristol, and I think Keselowski makes it. I don't know at the expense of who. I just don't see a way those two don't move on.
I think Hamlin makes it. I think Brad Keselowski does not. I think Hamlin's the only player in the red to move on. I think he moves on at the expense of Chase Briscoe. I think Ty Gibbs runs well enough to move on. I think Chase Briscoe does not move on. Ty Gibbs, Briscoe or Gibbs, it's a toss-up for me, really. But I think one of those cars is not moving on. I think William Byron finishes. I think William Byron's the last, or I think Denny Hamlin finishes above William Byron in this round of the playoffs. So I do think you see William Byron take some notches down. But as much as it hurts me to say, because I've been a super big RFK fan all year, Brad Keselowski does not move on unless he wins. He's not in a plus-1 situation, but I just think that's what it's going to take for him to move on.
I can see it. I just think only 12 points back stage racing with how they work strategy, I think they're going to find a way.
I hope so. Like I said, big fan of Keselowski this year. I just don't see it happening. I think Hamlin's the only player to move on. And I think Briscoe or Gibbs get eliminated. It's a toss-up, but I don't know, man. The Fords have not been great at Bristol, so I'm going to go Chase Briscoe if I had to pick right now. But who do you have winning the race?
I'm going Kyle Busch. And it's the night race at Bristol. Kyle Busch loves the night race at Bristol. I think this is about the last chance for him to get a win this year. It's this and Talladega, really. And I don't know how much I love his chances at Talladega because he's usually better at Daytona. I just think at some point his skill at Bristol is going to have to pay off. The last short track at Richmond, we saw much improvement from the RCR cars. Of course, everything happened with Austin Dillon, but Kyle Busch's car had speed as well as kind of got trapped back early. I think if he can qualify top 10, he'll be in with a chance, maybe even top 15. I feel like he's going to get a win this year. I think it's going to happen, and I think this is the best chance. He is so good at Bristol. I think this is where you see Kyle Busch finally get the win.
I don't hate the Kyle Busch pick. I don't think he wins this year. I just think it's going to be that kind of year for Kyle Busch, and he doesn't get the win as much as I'd like him to. I don't think it happens. I'm going Ryan Blaney.
After saying Fords are really bad.
Yeah, look, man. You ran really well at Atlanta.
That's a weird way to spell Christopher Bell.
I chose to spell this week, and I feel weird choosing that. I think I chose Ryan Blaney.
So for the viewers,
this year.
For the viewers, the reason I'm saying that is I had Christopher Bell and changed to Kyle Busch. So that's why I'm saying.
And then so Ryan Blaney, I feel like he's just due for a win with the kind of years Ryan Blaney puts on. And I think he's going to lock himself in the next round. Penske's been very good this round of the playoffs.
Ryan Blaney is Kansas win all day.
Look,
Ryan Blaney's winning at Kansas.
I agree, but just Penske's been so great these first few weeks in the playoffs. Atlanta, he ran well with half of his car missing and bear bond everywhere.
Yeah, but Ryan Blaney's faster with half the car missing. We've discussed this.
And that very well could happen at Bristol.
That's true.
He could be banging somebody in the first 50 laps, so get some weight reduction going on.
And before you pick the wrong Penske driver again and Austin Cindric wins.
Dude, that's happened way more times than it should have. Especially when Austin Cindric still.
Yeah, you do the thing where you pick the wrong teammate, then I pick the guy who gets horribly robbed at the last second, like this weekend.
Yeah. The guy who just raced on my lap too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I said earlier, there are a few guys who are surprising us in the playoffs. Notably, Austin Cindric, Alex Bowman, and Daniel Suarez.
3, 4, 5. How about that for synchronization?
Right. That was good.
Yeah.
But Austin Cindric, being the number 3 playoff guy right now, looking like he's in the final. Your final 4 has Alex Bowman, Austin Cindric, Christopher Bell, and Joey Logano. Those guys you'd expect.
Even your Logano is inevitable.
Yeah. But Bowman and Cindric, I mean,
Bowman's been really good.
Yeah, he's been driving the wheels off.
He had a.
I think it's because of all the talks right now. And the rumors,
Yeah.
he knows I got to drive the crap out of everything, and he is.
He had a bad month in the summer after winning Chicago. Like, oh, he's won. He's slacking off again. But let's not forget, he was driving really well at the start of the season, going under the radar, and won the Chicago race. And now the playoffs have started.
1 Daytona 500, according to some people on the internet.
Yes.
Those conspiracy theories.
Yes. But has been running really well in the playoffs, and you got to give him credit at this point. And also to Daniel Suarez. This is a guy who we were like, okay, he'll probably run well at Atlanta, but what about after that? I think we both kind of forgot that he won Sonoma. He's won at a road course. It's a decent road racer. I think we both kind of forgot that. So Daniel Suarez did run well at Watkins Glen, and this is the track I'm most worried about for him in Bristol, but he comes in plus 36. Like, you need a disaster to not move on at this point. And then the next round, I don't know how well it sets up for him, but we said that about this round, and he's up here anyway. So massive credit to Daniel Suarez.
If he has a above-average finish at Bristol and is in a nice seat for the next round, I think he should be fine. I mean, especially with the wild card race next round. You have Talladega.
Yeah.
I mean, he's won Atlanta this year. Who knows what could happen at Talladega?
Also, in knowing driver's luck, let's go through this right now. Byron's taken out in the wreck at Talladega. Blaney's taken out in the wreck at Talladega. Christopher Bell's definitely taken out in the wreck at Talladega.
Larson's taken out.
So that's 4 drivers already. They're taken out in the Talladega wreck.
Yeah, Brad Keselowski's causing 3 of those wrecks at Talladega.
Yeah, it's Keselowski and Logano that caused it at the front and just takes out everyone behind them.
Yeah. But so on the other street or road course, this was actually on a street. Azerbaijan was this morning. Did you wake up and watch it at what?
6
o'clock in the morning?
I did not.
Me neither.
I woke up at 9 a.m. I went to church, and then I came back and watched the race. And what a race it was.
American.
Yes, America. How about Oscar Piastri? This was an incredible drive. I know I'm a Charles Leclerc fan, but I think everyone that watches knows I'm a Piastri fan second after Leclerc. Obviously, still wanted Leclerc to win. I was rooting him on hard. I really wanted him to take the win from Piastri, but the defense from Piastri was incredible. Just always had the car in the right spot, keeping the battery charged. The shot of both of them almost losing it on the curb around turn 16, that was incredible. The racing between these 2 drivers was just amazing. And I can't say enough about Oscar Piastri, because this is a kind of drive that makes you think, oh, well, he's world championship material. Holding off one of the top 5 drivers in the sport for that long is the entire second stint until 3 laps to go when Leclerc's rear tires said, I'm going to head out. But until that point, Piastri just had everything covered. Smooth defense, never over-defended, was always super clean on throttle. He just did an amazing job for Piastri. And so I just all the credit to Piastri in the world. On the other hand,
Well, I think McLaren locked up the constructor side.
yeah, they didn't lock it up, but they have the lead.
Well, I know they didn't officially lock it up, but I don't think anybody catches it.
Yes, but we
But
mentioned
Sergio Perez did have a good day. Well, I think that's what we're about to talk about.
So Sergio Perez had a great day. He ran up front in the podium places all day, and then Carlos Sainz went hola and crashed them both into the wall.
Okay, I do want to talk about this and play the other side, like one of us typically does. Sergio Perez has a better angle. He can see what's going on. Should he have just pulled to the left a little bit?
No, you're an F1 driver. You don't get out of the way. I think if you're looking at this, if I was the FIA looking at this, I would say this is a racing incident because you watch the onboards. Neither driver's steering wheel really moves once they're out of the corner. I think they just both try to get the best exit they can, get the power down, and their wheels happen to clip.
I don't think it's anybody's fault.
Yeah.
But everyone else, those things are like, most people think it's Carlos Sainz's fault. I disagree. I don't think it's Carlos Sainz's fault, and I don't think it's Perez should have just turned left into the wall like Kyle Larson in Atlanta. But if you're gonna say anything, just be like, yeah, it's racing. It happens. They're race car drivers, and it happens. And luckily, I mean, none of them got hurt, so it was fine.
It stinks for Perez though,
because Perez had the best drive of his season.
He had pace on Verstappen all weekend. Out-qualified him, out-raced him, was much better with this Red Bull, was on the back of Leclerc and Piastri pretty much the entire race, and for it to end like that, you hate to see it, because the way Leclerc's tires were at that point, Perez could have easily been on for second. And it just stinks. But credit to Oscar Piastri once again. Credit to Lando Norris. Great recovery drive from him. Benefited at the end. And guy we haven't talked about at all. Credit to George Russell for the podium finish out of absolutely nowhere.
Because two guys collided.
Yes. Not the first time that's happened with Russell this
year. He didn't have to pass Verstappen to get there. So
yeah, and this might have been... It's probably a good thing we did not have a constant radio line on the Verstappen radio messages, because he was probably very unhappy in there. He voiced his displeasure multiple times, but still a great race at Baku. This is the kind of racing you want to see from a track like this in F1. It's not always about just the back and forth overtakes all the time. It's about that chess match, that defensive match, and it was great racing the entire way. I was super happy with it. Really enjoyed it.
Right, and then two new guys. One you've seen race before, one you haven't. Made their mark today and had a very good day. Ollie Behrman scored another point with Haas. The first driver to ever do it, with two starts on two different teams.
Yeah, with two separate teams. First driver to score points in his first two starts.
Yes, for him.
In his team next year with Haas, so that's where he'll be next year. And then you mentioned the other guy. How about Franco Colapinto showing that Logan Sargent was the problem? R.I.P. America. But Franco Colapinto, what a drive. Out-qualified Albon, something that Logan Sargent never did, and then went on to score 4 points, quadrupling Logan Sargent's career tally. So, what a drive from Franco Colapinto, and the fact that you can't get him in Williams next year because Carlos Sainz is coming in. Carlos Sainz is a better driver. Carlos Sainz is a better driver easily, but now if you're Williams, you go, I hope no one steals this guy, because he looks to be a great talent so far. Shades of Liam Lawson from last year, just immediately putting in the max potential from this car. Super impressed with Franco Colapinto, and it's great to finally see the Argentinian flag back scoring points again. It's been so long. It was really one of the main founding nations of the great F1 drivers. Juan Manuel Fangio, obviously. I want to say it was Argentinian or Italian.
Quick research.
Yeah, quick stat check. Yeah, he was Argentine. So I said it to me, he was like, what if he was Italian? But no, he was Argentine. Need to trust myself a little bit more. But great to see Argentina back scoring points again. And again, massive congratulations to Franco Colapinto.
Yes, great job. Good to see the sport looks like it's going to be in great hands in the future. And some young, exciting guys coming up. Very quickly, before we end, MLB heating up. Half a month left in the regular season.
My team's dead.
And pretty much we have a very, very good picture, especially on the National League, what the playoffs are going to be, except for maybe the last wildcard spot. But we can go ahead and eliminate everybody else. Everyone from the Cubs down, Cubs are 5.5 out, not making the playoffs.
What about the Reds?
Not making the playoffs. It's just between the Mets and the Braves for the last wildcard spot. Above them, Phillies, Dodgers, Brewers, all in great shape to win the division.
I would say it's between the Diamondbacks, the Braves, and the Mets. The Diamondbacks have been so hot and cold. They hit one of those cold streaks, they're gone.
I agree. The Padres, probably pretty good. 3 games up the wild card. Diamondbacks, a game and a half above the Braves. Mets, a game out of the Braves.
Only half a game.
If you're picking, all right, pick one team that doesn't make the playoffs. 3, 2, 1.
Mets.
I said Braves. He said Mets.
So we both think the Diamondbacks make it. I can't get out of my head the fact that they're the New York Mets, and that's definitely, it has nothing to do with this season. It's just the fact that they're the Mets. That's really like.
I don't know if you've heard stories about the people from New York, but I would not anger them.
It's whatever.
Anyway,
Prove to me you can do it. Prove to me you can do it.
I like that. I like that a lot. I think the Mets get in. I think the Braves, just too many injuries. I don't think they could sustain it. I think they're gonna falter. So yeah, I mean, I think the Diamondbacks card is good, and the Mets will be the other team, both the Braves. But we shall see. Moving on to the American League, Baltimore and the Yankees still going back and forth. Cleveland and the Astros. The Cleveland, I mean, do you think they win the division?
No.
Who wins the division? I know what you're gonna say, but say it.
The Royals.
Royals?
Yeah. The Royals.
I like that pick. You know why I like that pick?
Because you said it last week.
Because I said that at the beginning before the season.
That's true. Yeah.
I said that before the season started.
My Tigers are within touching distance, though. Don't count out my Tigers.
Tigers have played great baseball in the last month. Oh, since Javier Baez has been out of the lineup, they have played great baseball.
Yes.
They started their hot streak the day after Javier Baez played his last.
They're still there. They're only 2.5 games out of the wild card. So, I mean, don't count out the Tigers for the postseason. They'd have to keep up incredible form, but they're 9 games back from the division. That's too far. But still, I think that's good.
Does an AL West team make the wild card?
No.
Okay, I agree. Does the Houston win the AL West?
Yes.
Okay.
Mariners couldn't hit a beach ball with a rake.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that the Mariners are going to get so hot that they just start lining the baseball up. Which, I mean, anything's happened, but it's hard to see that. So I agree the Astros are going to win. The Central, I agree the Royals are going to win. Who do you have winning the East?
Vibes want to go Orioles. Just the Yankees look so good.
I'm going Yankees.
Yeah, I think I have to go Yankees.
I do too. I think, especially with the 3-game lead right now, how close they've been all year.
And the Orioles are cold right now.
Right. I don't see one of those teams faltering more than the Orioles are right now. So I'm going with the Yankees to win the division. Who is your wild card?
My wild card is
Baltimore, obviously.
Yeah, Baltimore, Cleveland. The Twins just got.
You would have said the Tigers.
The Twins just got embarrassed by the Reds. It's the Tigers.
I'm going Twins.
You can't get embarrassed by the Reds and make the playoffs. It's not allowed.
I'm
the Tigers.
Pretty sure you can. I think the Cubs have done that many times.
The Reds.
Since Ian Happ has played them.
The Reds actually have season series over the Phillies, the Braves, and the Dodgers. So
you just
yeah, I did. But
yeah, y'all embarrassed the Dodgers earlier.
Yeah, ignore that. Ignore what I said. The Tigers are making the playoffs.
I'm going the Twins. We'll have to see what happens.
I don't even believe myself.
Aaron Rodgers, home runs. Where are we on that? Is he getting it?
I would argue that Aaron Rodgers is hitting no home runs.
Did I say Aaron Rodgers?
You did.
He's in New York now, so hey. Aaron Judge. Do you think he's getting it or no?
I don't even know what number he's at right now. That's bad.
That is very, very...
Yeah, fake baseball fan. Excuse me 1 second while I pull up the Aaron Judge home run total. He's at 52. It says 1. That's incorrect. I think he's at 52, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So, 53 actually. I'm going to stick with what I said. He still gets there.
No, not getting it. Is Ohtani hitting the 50 for 50 mark?
No.
Really? You don't think he's hitting 50 for 50?
He only has, 43 stolen bases?
48.
Oh, then yes. I thought he had 43 stolen bases.
47 home runs, 48 stolen bases.
Okay, no, I thought he had 42, 43 stolen bases. I do think he gets there.
Yeah, he's hitting the ball well right now. He's seeing the ball well. He's kind of picked up the stolen base number.
I think it's injured.
In the past few months, he's very much picked up the stolen base thing.
Yes.
I don't know if there's Paw Patrol in Japan, but whatever the Japan variant of Paw Patrol is, don't do it. Don't wait for the off season. Or just pitch in the show. Don't do like a Homer Derby or whatever. I didn't watch the show. But
it's probably like some anime with dogs or something.
I'm sure there's something out there. He's probably on something. But we'll have to find out.
Keegan says Shohei Ohtani's on something, juicing allegations.
Dude, we've had so many conspiracy talks today. I feel like we need to make a whole video about the deepest dark. Like we'll have a whole series. We'll start with
the meme is like the iceberg. We're gonna make like a GTD iceberg.
Yeah. We'll do a whole series. We'll start with NFL, college football. With the NFL, there's a lot to talk about right now.
Yeah.
Not to get y'all excited and tease y'all and then not say anything, but I'm going to. Then we do NASCAR, F1, MLB. We'll just a whole conspiracy video on all those.
Anyway, this has been GTD Unhinged edition.
Yep.
Thanks for tuning in. Yes, we'll see y'all next week.
Adios.